I'm Joy Vernon. I am the organizer for the Greater Seattle Tarot Meetup. And today we are looking at a very cool 40-step manifestation process that allows you to put the numbered cards of the tarot, the pip cards, in order so you can see where things start and where they end. So tarot pips, a 40-step manifestation process. And so here are the things that we're going to cover today. So the first thing is this idea of putting the cards in order. And there's a variety of ways of doing this. So I'm going to just mention that. We're only going to focus on one of them today, but I do want to point out that this is not the only way of organizing the cards. We'll introduce the idea of the tree of life and the 10 Sephirot, and then also the 4 worlds. I'll show you that 40-step process, and I've got an example, and then we'll do a practice and kind of apply it and see what happens and what we get when we apply it to a tarot reading. So putting the cards in order. We're learning that 40-step manifestation process, and it's based on the 4 worlds of Kabbalah and the 10 Sephirot of the tree of life. However, this process that we're learning is not the only way to organize the cards. Here's just a few other examples. And let me say, I'm going to step back for a second and give a little bit more context. One of the best study aids for learning tarot is finding relevant ways of organizing or arranging the cards so that you can study not just one card at a time, but you can study how cards work with each other. And so with the minor arcana, particularly the numbered cards, ace through 10 of each suit, these are some of the ways that is common to organize the cards. And the very first thing is just looking at ace through 10, laying them out in order for each suit and looking at them that way. That I didn't even put it down because I'm just thinking everybody already does that and knows that, but I'm like, I should have added it to the list. So just looking at the cards, ace through 10 in order in each suit, kind of making up the story for that, noticing what the story looks like as it progresses through the cards. Another way of doing this is you can group the cards together by number instead of suit. So put all the aces together. What do you see? What similarities? What differences? Put all the 2s together. What do you see there? And so on throughout the 10 numbers. You'll notice that different decks, some decks really work well. They were designed with a story in mind as you lay the cards out ace through 10. Some decks were designed all the aces together, all the 2s together, etc. You can start to notice that as you rearrange the cards in your deck and try these practices, and you'll see that sometimes all the same number really works well together. In fact, the deck that was mentioned earlier, the Sacred Rose Tarot, the artist of that deck, creator of that deck had done that. You can see it, particularly the 2s. I love her interpretation of the 4 2s. But you can see it throughout all the groupings of numbers. So there's also the 36 card decanic cycle, which is putting the cards in order via the 36 decans, which are the 1/3 sections of each astrological sign. So you'd have and it typically starts in Leo. So you'd have 3 cards for Leo, 3 cards for Virgo, 3 cards for Libra. That's something that I teach, but I'm not going to go into any more detail here. Alternately, you can actually read the suits backwards and forwards. And this is something that I developed and wrote a blog post on quite a while back, but it's actually based on the fact that in some of the old trick-taking games that were that tarot was used for. There are point systems, and I don't really know the games very well, but there are point systems where some of the suits had to be played backwards and some of the suits had to be built up. There's something about, I came across this weird rule. I'm like, huh, that's interesting. I wonder if it applies to the cards. And it's like, oh, look at that. It's kind of cool. And so the wands, you read from 10 backwards to the Ace of Wands, and then go from the Ace of Wands to the Ace of Cups, and then go forwards, Ace through 10 of Cups. And then when you get from 10 of Cups, you go to the 10 of Swords and go backwards 10 through Ace. And then finish it off. Ace of Swords leads to Ace of Pentacles, and then go forward to the 10 of Pentacles. It's a really interesting way of doing it. It does make more sense for those difficult suits to start at the end, the 10 of Swords or the 10 of Wands, and watch how much better the suit gets as you move backwards through it. In fact, it's actually, I find, easier to find the story in the suit if you go backwards from in 4 Wands and Swords, from the 10 to the Ace. You can find the story a little bit better in the suit that way. And I've got a blog post there. The blog post is titled Backwards and Forwards, and if you search my website, you'll see that. And of course, there are many other ways of doing this as well, other ones that I teach even, but this is just enough to kind of get you thinking about it and thinking, oh yeah, I definitely could use these as ways of studying my cards. So the next thing we're going to look at is the tree of life. And I'm going to turn off my picture here so we can see this a little bit better. So the 10 Sephirot on the tree of life, I'm sure you've all seen this before. We start here with 1, and it goes this direction over to 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. And so I wrote the title of each Sephira and the translation of that title in English. These words are Hebrew. These words here are the English equivalent of that. And then I tried to come up with a single word to express each one, which is really kind of futile and probably not very useful, but I wanted to I'm like, at the most, what is the simplest way of understanding this? And so this is what I came up with. Keter is the top, and so it is the highest, the closest to the divine. And the divine is beyond this. And then Malkut is the manifest world that we live in. So this is closest to the divine is beyond, and this is the world we live in. So these are kind of a ladder or sequence of steps going from the closest we can conceive of to the divine and coming down through these layers into our manifest world. And so Keter means crown, and so it's closest to the divine, so we can think of it as unity. Chokmah, the second one, is wisdom. But from that unity of Keter, there is an extension of light, or an extension and direction of and a sense of movement. And so that idea of extension, that from this divine unity, we extend outward into something else, into duality or into contrast or something like that. But we move outward, we extend. And then Bina is the container that channels that extension and channels that energy and gives it a direction to go. And then from there we go to Hesed, mercy. It's building up. Its other name is love. or compassion, loving kindness is one of those words that's associated with it. It is about building up, whereas Gevura is, which is severity, is about tearing down. Tiferet is beauty or harmony. It's the place of the higher self. And then from there coming down. And so you can see these are more abstract towards the top, and they get more personal as we get lower in the tree, and closer to our own sense of personality and eventually the physical body. So from beauty, harmony, the higher self, we go down into Netzach, which is victory or perseverance. It represents on the again, trying to choose just one keyword, it represents emotion, particularly in contrast to Hod, which is intellect. Hod means splendor or yielding. Yesod is foundation. It's important to think of that foundation. It's the underlying thing. But a lot of times we think of foundations as below. And so if you've got a building, the foundation is the thing that's below the building, but the tree works backwards. So the manifest reality is here at Malkut. And so the underlying foundation to that is above in a way, or beyond in a way. And so the Yesod is the astral level. And that is the level of energies. And it could be the aura is one way to think about it. And just the idea, if you think of how thoughts become reality, they become reality through shifting the energy. And that's what Yesod is all about. It's the astral level. And then Malkut is the kingdom or the world of manifestation. It is action. Okay, so the next thing to understand, besides the four worlds, is besides the 10 Sephirot, is the four worlds. And to understand this 40-step manifestation process, what we're trying to do is arrange these four suits of the tarot in order. And this is the Kabbalistic answer to what are the order of the four suits. And so the four worlds are spark, dream, focus, finish. And that's how that is something that I developed in order to make it more accessible and to teach it. They go in this order. So fire first, then water, then air, then earth. And so the four worlds are absolute, which means emanation, Bria, which means creation, Yetzira, which means formation, and Asiya, which means manifestation. And I think of it as creating, the main metaphor that I use is making a pot. So, and I'll try to tell, I have a little story I tell. I'm going to try to tell it quickly to get the idea across, but not take up too much time. So in my little story, I suddenly get an idea. I'm coming home one day. I come in, I put my keys down on the entryway table, and then I'm like, oh, you know what would be good here is a pot. I would like something that I could put flowers in. It would be very welcoming. It would be really nice. And so that something from nothing, that spark of an idea, that is in the creative process, that is absolute or emanation. Emanation means something from nothing. So spark, oh, I've come home a million times. I've put my keys on that table a million times. All of a sudden, something from nothing, I think I'd like to put a pot there. And so the next phase is Bria, which is creation. And that is the dream phase. And so that's when I start thinking, I want it to look like this, and it's going to be big, and I'm going to do all these fancy colors on it. And, and I plan all this, like it's going to be so cool. And I just dream about all the possibilities. So dreaming all the possibilities, that's Bria, the world of creation. And that is our water and our cups suit. So then I head out to the pottery studio, and now we're to the focus level, or Yetzirah, and this is swords and the element air. And then I make an assessment. I'm like, okay, well, I only have this much clay, so I can't make it as big as I wanted to. I'm out of this. I don't have enough of that. I'm limited on time. All of a sudden, I have to start modifying my idea, my big dreams, and I have to be more realistic. And so I'm like, okay, so I'm going to make these modifications. I'm going to cut back on the plan, and I'm going to make sure that I can get all of this done. And so that's a focus level. It is the world of formation, and the word Yetzirah and the word Yotzer come from the same root, and Yotzer means potter. And so Yetzirah and potter, they both form things. And as the suit of swords, you can see this is what the world where we cut and measure and then cut, measure twice, cut once. And so this is where you have to get really specific, really detail oriented. So that's the world of Yetzirah. That's the focus level. And then the final level is I get my pot done, I fire it, and then I have a pot, and it's still nice, and I still did a good job with it. It maybe wasn't everything that I dreamed of, but I can still put it on my entryway table and put flowers in it, and I'm happy with it. And so that's finished. That's the final world, Asiya, or the world of manifestation of that a fully realized, complete object. It's also sometimes it's called the world of action. I think in many ways, there can be kind of an overlap. The way I described this, we certainly were taking actions in some of the previous levels, but the world of action is where you're really getting it done. Getting it done is the main thing here. And so that's finish, Asiya. That is the suit of earth and the pentacles, which again are solid objects. And that sense of completion, fulfillment, and even reward, the reward for the work that you did. So those are the four worlds: spark, dream, focus, finish, or absolute emanation, Bria, creation, Yetzirah, formation, and Asiya, manifestation. So now, looking at the four worlds in the, well, we've got this and then another slide. So here's just another way of looking at it. It's got the tree. I want to say that the four circles here, this is the way they overlap, but it's not necessarily the way they interact with the 10 Sephirot. We'll see that next. But the four worlds are considered to overlap. So the red circle is spark, the blue circle is dream, the yellow circle is focus, the green circle is finish. And so there's different ways of placing those four worlds on the tree. So I'm going to show you several. And so in this way, which is the one I primarily use, Keter goes in the world of absolute, Hokmah and Bina go in the world of Bria. So this one is the spark level. That was unity, or the crown. And so that is the same as our spark. And then both extension, Hokmah, wisdom, and our container, Bina, understanding, both go in the dream level. And again, you can even see that dream level at play with the extension and outward movement of Hokmah and Bina trying to capture it. And so then below that, the next 6 all go into the world of Yetzirah. Hesed, Gevurah. Hesed is mercy, Gevurah is severity, Tiferet is beauty, Netzach, victory, Hod, splendor, Yesod, foundation. All of those go together in that world of formation when we're figuring everything out. And so you can see that that's just and it makes the swords make so much sense, because you're like, yeah, the reason that there are trouble and difficulties and the intellect and all of that is all because there's so much to do. when you are in that Yetzirah level, there's a lot of analysis that has to happen, a lot of choices that need to be made. And so it definitely shows up when you put the four worlds on the tree this way. And then when you've got that finished product, the vase is complete. That's Malkut Kingdom, and that was manifestation, or having a finished object. And so here's another way. This is a really common way of looking at the four worlds, and they put all three here for absolute. The next grouping of three get Bria. These three are Yetzirah, and again at the very end, Malkut by itself is manifestation. That's possibly even a little bit more common than this one, but this one I learned first, and the groups of three is a one I learned later. So then the four worlds, this is the last way of looking at it, and this is what's important for our 40-step process. You can put the entire tree in absolute, and you can put the entire tree in Bria, and the entire tree in Yetzirah and Asiya each. And so then when we remember that absolute is the element fire, and it's a suit of wands, and that the 10 Sephirot, 1, 2, 3 through 10, are all in that tree, all of a sudden it's like, oh, so we have ace through 10 of the suit of fire, the suit of wands. And so there are our wands cards. And then we go to the world of Bria, which is water, that's cups, ace through 10 in the cup suit. Yetzirah is the element air, so ace through 10 of swords. And then Asiya is the element earth, ace through 10 of pentacles. So the four worlds outline this 40-step process from the ace of wands down ace through 10 of wands, then ace through 10 of cups, then ace through 10 of swords, and ace through 10 of pentacles. There is a thing called the or a phrase, there's a phrase that we say that Malkut is the cater of a new tree. So Malkut is 10, the one at the bottom, that was kingdom, or the world of action, the world of manifestation. And cater is the one at the top. So when you get to the bottom of a tree, Malkut at the bottom of that tree becomes cater, the crown of the next tree. And so we can see it over here. Whoops. We can see it right here that our 1 through 10 of wands, 10 Malkut of absolute becomes the ace of cups, or cater of Bria. And so from ace of cups down through the 10 of cups, which is the Malkut of Bria, becomes the ace of swords, or cater of Yetzirah. And you can see that they just overlap. One tree becomes, the bottom of one tree becomes the start of the next tree. The bottom of this one becomes the start of the next, and so on. So there is there's a no overlap here at the top, and there's no overlap at here. That's considered the bottom of the process. Sometimes there's elaborate things where you can add more levels and things like that. Sometimes people are always asking, well, what's below Malkut? This is the world we live in. So Malkut of Asiya is the bottom as far as it goes. However, below this, there are considered the klipot, which are the shells or shards, the fragments of broken lights that preceded this way of manifesting the tree. Long story, I'm not going to go into it right now, but for those of you that know a little bit of Kabbalah, that is the answer to that question. So this right here, this is our 40-step process from the height of absolute, the ace of wands, down through all four into the 10 of pentacles. So this is total potential here, and down through all of these steps into completion and manifestation and the achievement of our goals. And so that is our process right there. What I want to do is look at an example and just try to apply some of this philosophy and see if it helps us with a reading. Okay, so when I was putting the slideshow together, I was like, I need some kind of example spread, and I was so lazy. I didn't even want to grab a deck, which I had within arm's reach, but I was too lazy to open one up. It's like there's a box. I would have to get the cards out. I don't know. So I Googled automatic generator 3-card tarot spread and clicked the top link. And it didn't even ask me to ask a question or anything. It just gave me 3 cards right off the bat. And at first I was like, what? And then I'm like, yeah, this is actually a really good example. So I'm like, okay, so this was from a random tarot spread generator. I did not ask a question. I literally just clicked on a link. But my intention was for a good example, and I think this works pretty nicely. So we get 3, I just pulled 3 cards. So we were looking at the 3 of Wands, then we get the Knight of Wands, and then the 2 of Cups. And so we're gonna mostly just focus on our pip cards, which are the numbered cards. So the court cards, like our Knight of Wands here, any majors that come up, we're just going to read those normally or kind of leave them out so that we can focus on the 40-step manifestation process. So here we have a 3. So 3 was Bina, and that was Bina is means understanding, and it was our container or our channel for the energy. So, and it's in the world of absolute, which is the highest level. Wands are at the top. And so that is spark, the spark category, or the world of emanation. So this is something from nothing. So we've got Bina, the container or the channel, the thing that holds and controls. So if the helium in the balloon is Hokmah, Bina is the balloon itself that holds and contains that helium. Otherwise the helium just disperses. So Bina is the container. So that's what Bina is. And it's in absolute, the highest world, the spark world. Then we've got a Knight of Wands. He is also in the world of absolute, that spark. He actually assigns to Tiferet, but we're actually not going to worry about that because I didn't teach you the court cards. So we're not going to worry about that. We're just going to read him normally. And then we've got our 2 of Cups. And so 2 is Hokmah, wisdom. And wisdom, or Hokmah, remember, is the outward directed force. It is extension. And it's in the world of Bria, which was dream. Imagine all the possibilities. And that is our world of creation. The major creative process, all 4 of those all 4 words for the worlds: emanation, creation, formation, and manifestation, absolute, Bria, Yetzirah, and Asiya, all 4 of those mean creation. But they have nuances, and so the nuances are that absolute is emanation, Bria is creation, Yetzirah is formation, and Asiya is manifestation. So we have, for 2 of Cups, we have a Hokmah, the extension or outward directed force, in Bria, the dream level where you imagine all the possibilities. So let's put this together. Just go ahead and pitch in, or if you want to write a chat in the chat, go ahead. Thinking of the 3 of Wands as Bina in absolute, the container in the level of spark. How would you interpret that card, thinking of it that way? Looking for a way to contain desire, contain the desire. Okay, good. I like that. Looking for a way to contain the desire. Any other? Okay, here's another one. Okay, a boundary for how far you can take ideas. Okay, interesting, interesting. Yeah, okay, I like that. Um, a framework for your idea. The idea has started to take form. Good, good, good. Okay. Yeah, and so oh, and there's another one. Good, good. Asking what shape could this creation take? Yeah, really, really nice. And so invariably, when I do an example like this, my question is always, how can we learn this the best? And so I'm going to go with that as my question. And so already we're getting really good insight into this. So how can we learn the 40-step manifestation process? Well, we start by looking for a way to contain the intention, the desire to learn this, where we have a boundary for how far we can take these ideas, which is great because that's what Bina does, is that she doesn't let us go randomly off into a bunch of tangents. She wants to keep us focused. So nice. A framework for the idea. Yeah, absolutely. The idea started to take form. So yeah, absolutely. We're seeing what shape, asking a question, what shape could this creation take? And so we've got a lot of really nice interpretations here that already are giving us some good advice about how to apply this philosophy in our reading. So then our next card is the Knight of Wands. And remembering that if you want to play with Tiferet and Absolute, you're welcome to. Tiferet was harmony, and it was its title is beauty, and an alternate title for it is harmony. That's a keyword I gave you, and it can be the higher self. And so keeping that in mind, it's in the world of spark. What does that Knight of Wands tell you? And to me, well, I'm going to give you guys a chance to go first before I tell you what I think. So what's our next step here? What does the Knight of Wands do with this? Okay, follow your intuition. Yeah, yeah, definitely. Just follow that spark and run after it and see where it takes you, for sure. What else do we have for that? Finding harmony or balance in the desire with self. Oh, okay, cool, cool, cool. Finding harmony or balance in the desire with self. Nice. And then harmony sounds like integrate to me, like see where the idea fits. I love that. Integrating. How can this idea integrate with our natural reading style and our natural reading process? Brilliant. Okay, this will lead to your highest path, soul path, as the higher self. Yes, very, very nice. This will lead to your highest path, soul path. A bit weird, but this just came to me. That could be like the marketing guy going out with the idea to see how it would be accepted. Yeah, absolutely. This is your testing phase where you yeah, you head out, gallop off on that horse and say and visit a test audience, take some samples out and see what the response is. Yeah, absolutely. The like what did they say? Run it up the flagpole and see who salutes. It's like absolutely. Okay, good, good, good. Our last one here is the Two of Cups. So that's Hokmah, which was wisdom. And it also is the extension of the energy, and it is in Bria, the world of dreams, or a world of dreaming, the world of creation. So that is the imagine the possibilities level. So how will we see that Two of Cups in terms of Hokmah in Bria? Learning from what we've created. Okay, okay, good. Okay, so the next one, joining forces and imagining what form that will take. Okay, good. Yeah, joining forces. And I like the fact that integration had come up in the previous card, and that integration is it does bring those two halves together to create something more than they were before. And also here, as Angela had said, and then joining forces and imagining what form that will take. I like that. I like these. Okay, the egg has been fertilized and is starting to grow. Yeah, different ideas coming together and seeking to blend, sharing the wisdom we are learning in order to help us learn, or teaching others to teach ourselves. Yeah, nice, nice, nice. So the next thing I want to point out, and so those are all really, really nice interpretations. So you guys are picking up on this really quickly, and working with this really nicely. So the next thing to look at, now that we've kind of got some good interpretations going, for each card, is to see how they work together. And so we've got our 40-step process that starts with the Ace of Wands at the very top and goes through Wands, then Cups, then Swords, then Pentacles. And so what suits do we have present here? We have Wands and Cups. So how far along in our 40-step process do we go here? So go ahead and start to put some of that together. I have one other comment. Okay, good. So you were answering that one, I think, really quickly. So the early phases. Yeah, we're absolutely in the early phases of this process. And so if somebody were to ask a question like, I'm starting to study something new, how do you think it's going to go for me? If normally with a spread like this, I'd be like, this is fabulous. Everything, you're going to love it and you're really going to fly with it. But if we stop for a second and think about that 40-step process that has to get, that's barely entered the cup phase and still has swords and pentacles to go, what additional insight can we offer somebody that is getting these cards and has asked about some objective that they have? So we know that they're in the early phase of this. It's a lovely idea that needs more integration. Okay, good. What are some other ways of interpreting this based on that 40-step process? Keep mind open about ways it could go. Yep, because we went from spark to dream, and so we haven't even completed the dream suit yet. So you still might have more dreams even to explore before you even get to the hard work of the swords.
We might want to ask, like, what are some action steps that you think you could make?
Good. Yeah, good. It's like, this is a great idea. Do you have your task list yet? Do you have your action steps yet? Yeah, absolutely. And one thing I get, and this is a really good example. I had a woman ask me about starting a business. This was a really long time ago, and the final outcome was a 10 of Cups. And so I gave her very positive reading for it. But there was something weird because I just could tell that the reading was too positive. And I knew that that wasn't practical because she was asking about starting starting a retail business. And so then I asked her, after I saw that 10 of Cups, I said, how far along are you in your process? I mean, do you have your storefront rented? Do you have your inventory stocked? And then she's like, no, it's just an idea. And this was in the fall. She's like, and I want to have it ready to go by Christmas. And I was like, okay, there's a lot that you haven't done yet. And this is a beautiful dream. But yeah, what action steps do you need to make this happen? So focus on making a plan. Absolutely. Focus on making a plan. Going back to spark, what are the needs and desires to be met here? Yeah, it's do we have our Ace of Wands covered? What is the precise goal that we're trying to achieve? Along the path, think about or notice what you like and okay, yeah, en route to know what purpose it can fulfill in the long term, or how you would manifest. It will feel good at the start, but there will need to be a part of you where you feel challenged. Yep, that'll be the sword suit that's coming up. We haven't hit that yet, and where the commitment really starts to get traction, which will be our pentacle suit. So yeah, that'll be good. How resilient is the spark? Yeah, exactly. Can this spark make it through that sword suit of all the conflicts and all of the choices and decision making, and dealing with the troubles and difficulties? Is it resilient enough? Okay, awesome. You guys are doing fabulous. And I think this is making pretty good sense. Okay, so that's our session for today. Thank you guys for coming out and playing with tarot and me. Thank you. Thanks everybody for coming.